Hey guys, welcome to my garage. I'm Jason and I make videos from right here in my garage about car stuff and DIY, product reviews, how-tos, general garage life, and more. As part of that, I really like reviewing and testing LED lights and seeing how technology and designs continue to evolve. Now, I previously reviewed 15 pairs of LED headlights in one video. Some of those that I reviewed were suggested by you. I got some great feedback from that video, so here I am once again with another 10 LEDs to check out. Now, like before, I'm going to introduce you to each light, do an unboxing, go over the published specs, and cover some of the features. Then, I'm going to test them using the following: an H11 light projector testing rig that I made, my benchtop power supply, and a basic lux meter mounted on my garage door 20 feet away from the projector rig. Before I get started with the unboxing and testing, let me give you this disclaimer. My tests aren't meant for an accurate brightness measurement, but to view the light pattern and compare the brightness measurement against the OEM bulb, which is 550 lux according to my testing. Now, because I use a projector to test, your results with a reflector style housing may differ. And one thing I always got to stress, you always got to keep your headlights aimed correctly. Check them every time you change bulbs, or at least once a year. It's not usually difficult to do, and I'll put a link in the description that'll show you how to do it if you need it. Now, if you install an LED light and find that you just can't aim your headlights well and you're getting too much light scattering, you might need to switch to another style of LED light that's going to be more compatible with your particular light design and housing. Or you might want to actually consider a lower brightness level. Now, I know it sounds strange, but brighter is not always better, especially when it comes to reflectors, because you can actually push more light to the reflector than it was designed for, and that's going to scatter the light instead of collecting it and focusing it. That's why I like to review a variety of styles and test the brightness to give everybody an idea of their options. So if your headlights aren't aimed, or if you're using the wrong style of LED light, or by just going too bright, you can actually see less, and so will the driver heading towards you because you're blinding them. Now, that's dangerous for everybody, and it's pretty important to be a responsible driver. So just consider that. Finally, depending on your location, LED lights like these may not be legal for use as headlights. That's why you now often see them being sold as forward lighting and not headlights. Now, while I say that they are headlights in this video, I'm using that term generally and in reference to off-road applications only. This video is provided as a guide for using LED lights legally, and doing so otherwise is at the viewer's discretion. Links to everything I test today is going to be in the description, plus any coupon codes that I might have stumbled across. Okay, enough of that. Let's get to the unboxing and the testing. All right, let's get things started with the light from a company called Benebolt. Benebolt reached out to me after they saw that I'd uploaded a video to my channel about my new Chevrolet Colorado. I got more videos about that coming soon, by the way. What caught their attention was the fact that they use a GMC Canyon as their work truck, and as you probably know, the GMC Canyon is considered the brother or the cousin of the Chevrolet Colorado. And they went on to tell me that they use their own lights in their own vehicles, including that work truck. In fact, if you go to benebolt.com, you can see that work truck right on their website. So they reached out to me and they said, "Can you test our lights?" And I said, "Absolutely." So they sent me some. They are US based. They seem pretty cool. They seem very service oriented. And let's get into the specs of the Pro model. The published specs are 30 watts per light, 5400 lumens, and a white color temperature of 6000 K. Comes with a couple of two-sided sticky tape things, a couple of zip ties, and a manual. Here they are. Let's look at the details. More about the specs. The published specs are a 5 series CSP LED chip. The ring is adjustable. There are 2 screw holes right there, so you can adjust it as you need to. It does have a fan to cool it, and the driver is external. They say it's CAN bus ready, and it has an intelligent control to adjust temperature. It has a polar sensitive plug. I didn't get an IP rating from them on this light, but they do say that it is water and dust resistant, has a lifespan of 50,000 hours, a 1-year warranty, and on their website they call it a bulb to bulb warranty, which I thought was pretty cool. And the H11 price at the time of this video is $39.99. So my initial observations are this is actually a pretty impressive light. It's very well constructed. Has a good sized fan. The lights, the chips appear to be in the right position. And overall, just a good quality light for the money. I'm pretty impressed with it already right off the bat. Benebolt also tells me that each light is tested before they send them out, which is good to know. Overall, off to a good start with this. Coming up behind the Benebolt Pro is the Benebolt Ultimate. This one is a step up from there. Published specs are 45 watts per bulb, 6300 lumens per bulb, and the same color temperature range as the Pro at 6000 K. Comes with zip ties, some more double-sided tape, instructions. So this is definitely a step up from their Pro. Their Pro was pretty impressive right out of the gate, but then this is definitely a step up from there. This has GXP chips. It does have an adjustable ring. That's why you get a hex wrench right there. It's got a 12,000 RPM ball bearing fan, and according to their website, it has a vacuum liquid conduction system, which sounds pretty cool. Just like the Benebolt Pro, this one has an external CAN bus ready with intelligent control to adjust the temperature in the driver. Feels pretty well constructed, the drivers on both of them, by the way. It is polar sensitive, and like the Pro, it is water and dust resistant. It has a lifespan of 50,000 hours and a 1-year bulb-to-bulb warranty. Pricing at the time of this video is $79.99. Now, Benebolt says that these are designed for both projectors and reflectors, and they also quote on their product description for this one, "We won't be in business for long if our bulbs aren't good." I really got to respect that. So this one looks like it has a bit larger of a heat sink and larger fan. It is a good sized fan, and of course you need really good cooling for a high powered light. The chips appear to be in the right spot. They appear to be high quality, and overall this is just a good looking light. Let's see how it does. Next up is one from a company called Car Workbox. And I actually like this company name. There's a lot of light manufacturers out there that I don't even know how to pronounce properly, so I stumble through it. But this one's simple, to the point, sounds like it gets stuff done. Car Workbox. I love it. I actually do. So the published specs on this one are 65 watts and 10,000 lumens per light, 6,500K white color temperature. Comes with a happy, not happy card. These are always nice to have just in case you got problems. Decent product manual if you need it. Back to the specs. This has a CSP chip. It does have an adjustable ring. They say it has a double copper tube cooling system inside. It is fan cooled with an external driver. Polar sensitive plug, IP68 rating, 50,000 hour lifespan, 1-year warranty, and the price at the time of me making this video, before any coupons that you might find on Amazon, is $65.99. So right off the bat, this has a slightly different design of the heatsink. It's a little thicker, a little beefier. That's not a bad thing. The fan looks good sized. The heatsink looks good sized. You want that proportion between power and cooling so you have better lifespan. It does have an adjustable ring. That's good. Overall, this is a pretty good looking light. The chips look high quality. It doesn't look like it's cheaply put together. The cable is flat. Overall, just a good, sturdy, very sturdy. That's one thing I do want to add. Very sturdy light. Let's see how it does.
Impressive.
This next one is from a company called Engniek, if I'm saying that right. Each light has 40 watts and 6,000 lumens and a 6,000K color temperature. Comes with a pretty decent manual, if that's what you need. Plus it shows some of their other offerings. It's upside down. Comes with a little welcome card, just to thank you for buying and to make sure that you know that there's 100% satisfaction. Let's take a look at the hardware. More specs on this one. I couldn't find information on the chip. They just say it is a top grade chip. I believe the ring is adjustable because there is a socket right there for a hex wrench, but I don't think it came with one. But everybody's got a hex wrench laying around somewhere that'll probably fit that. If you don't, they're pretty easy to find and pretty cheap. Has a 10,000 RPM fan, external driver. It is CAN bus ready according to the company, and it has an intelligent control to adjust temperature, which is always important. It's a polar sensitive plug, IP65 rated. Rated for 50,000 hour lifespan. I couldn't find any warranty information on it, unfortunately, so you might want to do some research on that one. The price at the time of me making this video before any coupons is $59.98. So right away, as soon as I take a look at this thing, I don't know why, maybe it's just the color or the finish, but it made me think of the Mandalorian. Kind of cool. Maybe it also is the design of the heat sink as well. It's kind of neat. So overall, seems to be pretty well constructed. Not much plastic on this except for the fan blade and the guard. It's a similar design to other lights I've reviewed, and that's not necessarily a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. Overall, just a good, basic, balanced light. Good size fan. Cool. All right, let's see how it does. Next up is one from Lightening Dark, and this one has the largest and I think best design box out of all the ones I'm testing today. It just looks pretty good with the design and the foil printing on it, and of course right here it says, "Your powerful vehicle deserves better lights." Ain't that the truth? So the published specs on these are 50 watts per light, 80,000 lumens per light, 6,500 color temperature. Comes with a manual. More specs on this. It does have the GXP chip. That's the same chip that the Benebolt Ultimate had. It has an adjustable collar on it. It has a 12,000 RPM fan, an external driver, and I'll get to that massive driver in just a second. Polar sensitive plug, IP67 rated, 30,000 hour lifespan. Couldn't find any information on warranty, but the price, the H11 size price at the time of this video is $69.99, of course, before coupons or discounts. So let's get into this. First of all, I think it's the only red one I'm testing in this session. It's got a really stout, aggressively designed heatsink, a good sized fan. But let's get to this massive driver. This is probably one of the biggest, or at least the most awesomely designed drivers I've tested so far yet. This thing is just a little tank. So if it's a compact area that you need to mount this light in, you probably want to choose a different light just because this is built very sturdy. Even the heatsink is pretty big and wide. So this is a heavy duty application type of light. Overall pretty good looking. The quality is pretty decent on it. I like that it's got a braided cord to it. I always like that. That's always a bonus in my book. And overall, just a real stout looking light. Let's see how the light output does. Next up is one that you guys have been asking me to do. I got a lot of comments in my last video to test this one in my next video. Well, here it is. This is the Sealight Xenower. Now, I've tested Sealights in the past. They always turn out to be pretty good value for the money. So let's get into the published specs on this. 50 watts per light. And this is kind of interesting. All the other lights that I've ever tested, including all of the other ones in this video, publish lumens. But Sealight is saying that this is 4,000 lux. I don't know if that means per light or for both of them, but lux is how I test, and I'm curious to see if my testing comes out to be the same. I really doubt it's going to be. They probably have much more professional type of testing compared to, well, how I'm doing it just here in my garage with a homemade rig, but we're going to at least see how it compares to the other ones. The color temperature is 6,000 K. Let's have a look. It's a pretty complete instruction manual if you need that sort of thing. Comes with zip ties and double-sided tape. We've seen that in some of the other ones here. Well, it's packaged pretty well. Okay. So as soon as I get this out of the package, the one thing I noticed that it looks awfully similar to the Benebolt Pro that I started this video with. And at least from the collar up, they look almost identical. It looks like the chips might be a little bit different, or possibly the core, but they're similar, and that's pretty common across LED lights. Now, if that's true, that's probably a good thing for Benebolt, because Sealight makes a pretty good light for the money, as I mentioned. I think a lot of people have had pretty good luck with them, and that's probably why people want to see me review this one. So back to this one specifically. The driver is pretty solid. It's pretty compact. It does come with that double-sided tape to mount it anywhere, and zip ties just in case you need to strap it to something. I do like this little touch that they have on here, the little grate with the Sealight logo underneath the fan. Not that it really matters because you're not going to see it when it's installed, but kind of those things kind of, you know, it's a little nice touch. But overall, Sealight makes a good light, and this is right on par with the other Sealight products. So let's put this one to the test. Next up is one from a company called Wontolf. Wontolf. Something along those lines. Pronounce it how you want to. I might have gotten it right one of those 3 tries. But anyway, however you want to pronounce it, here it is. And as soon as I got it in my hands, I realized that the box looked a lot like the car work box. But anyway, let's get into the published specs on this one. The published specs are pretty impressive. 60 watts and 10,000 lumens per light, 6,000 K color temperature. Comes with just a piece of paper with just some basic information if you need it. Let's get back into the details on this one. This has a CSP chip. Couldn't find any more information than that on it. The cooling, they say gas liquid circulation superconducting copper tube and 12,000 RPM fan. Well, that's impressive sounding. It does have an external driver. It does have a polar sensitive plug, IP68 rating, 50,000 hour lifespan. Could not find warranty information on the Wontolf either. The H11 price at the time of this video, before any discounts or coupons, is $50.99. So right away, if the one that I mentioned before looked like the Mandalorian, this one definitely looks like Captain Phasma. I mean, this is just really nice looking. It looks like it's polished. Overall, pretty good look and light. Really good sized fan. A lot of blades on it. Good, well machined heatsink. Feels very, very sturdy. It does have a braided cable on that. I really like seeing that. I think that's a nice touch, and it's again cheap insurance on that. Overall, pretty impressed with how this looks. If you care about that sort of thing, construction feels really good. No guard on the fan, but a lot of them don't have it. How much do you need it? Just be careful when you install it, because you don't want to press on that to install it. You want to grip it around right there on the collar here. Let's see how it does. Next up is the Zoncar Z1. All the other boxes on all the other lights that I've reviewed in this video are black. This one, it's a refreshing change. Blue, the nice big yellow Z on it. Gotta love it. All right, published specs on this. 42 watts per light, 8,000 lumens per light, 6500K color temperature. Okay, so according to the company, this has a Korean CSP chip. I don't believe it has an adjustable ring on it, but it does have a 12,000 RPM fan, an internal driver, a non-polarity plug. I couldn't find an IP rating on it. Has a lifespan of 30,000 hours. Has a 1-year warranty on it. And here's the thing. This is the price leader for all the lights I'm reviewing today. $29.99 before any coupons or discounts for the H11 size. Pretty impressive, considering that it's overall well constructed. I think the fan is slightly on the smaller side, especially for having an internal driver, so it might struggle with keeping the heat down on that, which then would impact longevity and reliability, or at least it could. Depends on the quality. And overall, though, the rest of the quality is pretty nice. Got a nice short cable right there. So it's pretty compact. This would be really good for smaller, tight areas to mount in. It has a similar design to most standard LED lights that I've seen. Overall, for the price, you really can't beat it though, as long as the light output is decent. So let's find out. Next up is one from a company called Zuzzee. This is one of two that I'm testing from this company. This one has 50 watts and 6,000 lumens per light, 6000K color temperature. Comes with a manual. Also comes with a pair of white gloves, and I think this is kind of a nice touch. I'm not sure if it's to keep your hands clean or to keep the light clean or a combination of both. It's just a nice touch. So this one here, let's get back into the specs here. So I couldn't find a whole lot of information on the chip. It just said it's an upgraded chip. This is an all-in-one unit, so it's non-adjustable. It has passive cooling, meaning it does not have a fan, and it has an internal driver. This has a non-polar sensitive plug, IP68 rated, also rated for 50,000 hour lifespan, a 2-year warranty on it, and the H11 price at the time of this video, $35.99, of course, before coupons and discounts. So this is a very, very compact all-in-one unit. And I always have slight concerns about these because the heat is pretty tremendous on this with passive cooling and internal driver. This is something that I learned after a while. However, one of my first videos that I did with LED light testing, which was from the Auxito light, did great for me, even though that had an internal driver and passive cooling. So you shouldn't discount it. These are great if you have a very tight space that you need to mount them into. So it's very sturdy, all-in-one unit. It's got heat sinks all up and down instead of just in the bottom. It also has heat sinks here as well. The chip, the LED chip, is on the smaller side compared to some of the bigger ones, like the ones with the GXP chip. And that might be a good idea because the bigger the chip, the more the light output, the more heat. If you have more heat, but not anywhere for it to go, it'll burn out a lot quicker. So this actually looks smartly designed for an all-in-one unit. So let's see if my theory is correct on that smaller chip size, resulting in slightly less light output, which is, again, a good idea for this. Let's find out how it does. And here's another one from Zuzzee. This is the N76. The previous all-in-one was the N36. This is a 35 watt, 6,000 lumen per bulb set, 6,500K. Comes with some zip ties. And once again, it comes with some gloves to keep your hands clean, protect your hands, or keep the light clean, one of the two. Again, nice touch. Nice to have somebody think of that. Comes with a 2-page instruction manual. Let's check out the unit here. So I couldn't find a whole lot of information about the chip. It just says automotive grade. And, well, I hope so, because guess where it's going to go? In an automobile. But anyway, it is supposed to have an adjustable collar according to the specs. I'm not quite sure how to adjust it. Maybe we have to remove this one screw right there. But otherwise, it has a 10,000 RPM fan, an external driver, a non-polar plug, IP68 rated, 50,000 hour lifespan, and a 2-year warranty. The H11 price at the time of this video, before coupons and discounts, $37.99, just $2 more than the all-in-one version. So let's talk about this one here. Pretty nicely constructed. The design is decent for the price. I see this indentation style on a lot of different lights, and this one has it as well. The driver is pretty small and compact, which is always good, especially for smaller areas if you have a tight area to install it in. Overall, decent light for the money. It's about middle of the range price. So let's see how this light compares to the other ones, including that N36 all-in-one. There you have it. 10 lights, as I promised. Do you remember in my last video where I tested a bunch of lights, and the 15th light was a super cheapo from eBay, and it performed absolutely terribly? In fact, it performed worse than the factory incandescent bulb. Well, I got a surprise for you. I did the same thing this time that I did last time. I jumped on eBay, I did a search for H11 LED headlight, I sorted by lowest price, and then I specified that I get it shipped from the US to my house. And guess what I found? This. For $5.99 shipped to me. So let's get into the specs. Actually, before we do, let's get into the name. Spevert? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, like a lot of them, but that sounds Spevert. It just sounds a little too close to another word that might be embarrassing. But hey, I'm not the one naming it, I'm just the one testing it. So let's get into the specs now. They claim the published specs on this is 55 watts and 5,000 lumens per light. 6,000K color temperature like most of the other ones. Let's take a look. And here we go with the Spevert. The chip style is not like the other ones. As you can see, it is a chip-on-board style, which does a more of a flood than a pinpoint projection of the light, meaning it's not going to mimic the factory incandescent filament very well. Kind of like the other cheapie that I reviewed. It does not have an adjustable ring. It has passive cooling, no fan, has an internal driver. It has a polar-sensitive plug that claims to be IP67 rated. It claims to be IP68 rated. And I could not find a lifespan estimation on it. However, it does have the longest warranty of anything that I'm testing today, a 3-year warranty. So it's the cheapest at $5.99, but it has the longest warranty at 3 years. First of all, a chip on board is not good for LED headlights, no matter what marketing guy will tell you, they're just not. That's why all the other lights that I've tested, from mid-range to high, they use the other style of chip, not a chip on board. Right? The other thing is let's talk about the cooling on this. With an internal driver, this is sure to get a little hotter than one with an external driver. But here's the thing. It has a very tiny heat sink. It's not machined very well. And it has this cap on the end of it for no real reason that I can think of. Now, with passive cooling, that means the air passes through it and draws the heat away as it passes through. However, because of this chrome cap on it, that's probably meant to look pretty good, makes the air get in there and just get trapped. So this won't even cool very well. I would not expect this to last very long. But again, what would you expect for $5.99? Just be prepared to try to invoke that 3-year warranty. But who knows? It might do pretty good. I doubt it. The last time I did this, it didn't turn out very well at all. In fact, the last one was not even near as bright as the factory incandescent bulb. Is that going to be the case with this time? All right, now before I get to my conclusion, here's a quick slideshow of all that I've tested. Now, some quick notes about my testing. Since my previous test, I made some changes to my testing environment and my method, thanks to some of your suggestions. I removed all excess light in the garage and adjusted the exposure of my camera so it'd be easier to see the cutoff line of the lights. This also changed the brightness number of the stock H11 bulb, which I pulled directly from my own vehicle. I also focused the hotspot of each light on the sensor before I did my testing to ensure that you're seeing the highest number for each unit. After all, not adjusting the test housing for each light is like not aiming your headlights after changing them. And if you recall, I strongly urge you to aim your headlights every time you change them, or at least once a year. Okay, now that I've said that, here's a few of my observations. The Benebolt Pro and Benebolt Ultimate were both very impressive. I'd never heard of them before until they reached out to me, and I'm kind of glad they did. I really like how they use what they sell and how they seem to be very customer-centric, and they test each one before they send them out. Now, for the money, the Pro model was super well balanced. $40 gets you a pretty good light. It looks a lot like the Sealight and performs almost as good at 2/3 the price. Now, I really don't think you can go wrong with this one. The Ultimate was a step up, but for double the price. Now, it uses the same chip as the Sealight, and after 20 minutes of use, it was still brighter than most of the others at the initial brightness level, but that brightness does come at the expense of some heat. It seemed to get pretty hot pretty fast. But I also do like how Benebolt claims it is designed for both projectors and reflectors. Car work box. Now this one is built pretty sturdy, and holy cow is this one bright. It's the brightest in the group for initial measurement. However, that brightness was reduced to 69% after 20 minutes, but like the Benebolt Ultimate, it's still brighter at 20 minutes than most of the other ones tested at the initial measurement. The Engniek. This is the one that I called the Mandalorian, and unfortunately this one didn't do so well. It had a pretty bad cutoff, and I had a hard time zeroing the hotspot in on the sensor. The fan, it just didn't spin very fast, and I actually had to check it to make sure that it was even running. It also had the lowest output numbers. The initial was 323 lux, and after 20 minutes, only 270. That's less than half of the stock H11 incandescent bulb. And despite it not being very bright, it had a hard time regulating heat, and I could feel how hot it was through my work glove as soon as I removed it from the housing. Now, I tested both of them twice with similar results. This is pretty pricey, and based on the performance, I just can't recommend this one. Now, Lightening Dark. This one is built like a tank for sure. I mean, the driver is huge, and it looks like it's bulletproof. The fan is big, and it is loud. I can, for some reason, see this being installed on a big old four-wheel drive truck. Now, light output was pretty decent, and it retained 80% of it after 20 minutes of use. Now, this is not a bad choice if you've got the room for it. Now, let's talk about the Sealight Xenower here. This is the one that a lot of you guys have been wanting me to test, and I'm really glad I did. Now, overall, this is a very, very well-balanced light. And like the Benebolt Pro, it's built nicely. It's got the right size fan, and the fan spins pretty quickly, but it's also very, very quiet. It was plenty bright and was the most efficient at retaining that brightness after 20 minutes. It measured at 91% after that amount of time. So this one here is a solid choice without question, and I expect to test more Sealight products in the future. Wontolf. I don't know why I struggle saying the name, but this is the one that I thought of as Captain Phasma. That's what it made me think of when I saw it anyway. This is another reasonably balanced light with a middle-of-the-road price at just over $50 before coupons. And it was pretty bright with 90% efficiency after 20 minutes, so it's pretty efficient. The Zoncar version. This is the price leader here. Just $29 or even less if there's a coupon out there. Unfortunately, it was a little dimmer than the stock H11 according to my testing, but like a lot of things, your experience might vary with that one, because this one might be one of those that could work pretty well if you have a hard time keeping the light from scattering because you've got a reflector housing that doesn't like being overpowering and you need something a little less intense. For the cost, this is definitely worth a try. One thing to note, after 20 minutes, it was still keeping 86% of the light output, and it was the coolest of all that I tried after that amount of time, according to my infrared thermometer, and that is despite having a pretty small fan. The Zuzzee N36 All-in-One. This was the second dimmest in this test, not counting the $6 cheapo that I'm going to get to in a second. It was also not very efficient after 20 minutes, only being good at retaining 75% of the brightness. It was also the hottest, again according to my infrared thermometer, and that's again not counting the $6 cheapo. I measured 170 degrees after 20 minutes. But even that is a little bit more than half of how hot an incandescent bulb gets. But still, I'd still not typically consider this one. However, Zuzzee redeemed themselves with the other one here, the N76. Now this one is very, very surprising. We're talking Cinderella story, this unknown company, at least to me, coming out of nowhere. Some of you might get the reference. But anyway, here's the deal. For just $2 more than the N36, you get a lot better light. In fact, it was the third brightest in this test. Overall, this is just better quality, not as hot, and has really decent efficiency compared to the N36. Overall, I was most impressed with this one. It's $38 before coupons, and it has a 2-year warranty. Remember that the rest of them, except for the Zuzzee N36, has a 1-year warranty. Now this is a sure winner, at least according to my short-term tests, and well worth a try. Check this one out. Also on the list of what I'd recommend out of these is the Benebolt Pro and the Sealight Xenower. Like the Zuzzee, they had the right balance of light output, heat efficiency, and overall solid quality and construction, and they do look awfully similar. The rest, except for a couple, seem to be on par with each other, and it can always come down to what you personally need, what price range your budget allows, and sometimes what you like the looks of more. Except for a couple that I just wish performed better, but unfortunately they didn't. Now, my testing is just one way to measure, and as mentioned, these are just basic tests to see how they compare to stock incandescent bulbs. Different types of tests is going to bring you different types of results. But nothing was as bad as the $6 no-name cheapo. Well, it's got a name. We'll get to that in a second. The cutoff line on this was surprisingly good in my projector housing, but I bet it wouldn't do so good in a reflector. It was less than 40% the brightness of the OEM incandescent bulb when initially measured. And then after 20 minutes, it only retained 22% of that brightness. It was also super hot by then. It was the hottest of all of them. I measured it at almost 200 degrees. Now, like many of the cheapos that are out there, the listing on eBay talked a really good game, and they designed it to look like a higher quality light. But the design itself is honestly kind of stupid. With this cap on it, it just makes it so it does not allow any heat to escape. And the quality is absolutely absurd. The light output is as laughable as the name. Again, it's called Spevert or Spevert. I have no idea. Again, I always hear people say, I can buy 10 of the cheap ones for the price of one expensive one. However, using them once isn't worth the cost of one. They're simply misleading and downright dangerous to use. All right, enough of that. I've got lots more LED lights lined up to be tested next. And if you like this video, you're going to want to subscribe so you can see what's coming up, because many of what I'm going to test are what you guys have asked me to. Be sure to let me know anyway what else you'd like to see me test next so I can look into it. Your suggestions, constructive comments, and questions are always welcome. However, rude remarks will be laughed at and then ignored. Above all, I hope this helps someone enjoy their car more and help them make a good buying decision when it comes to LED upgrades. Again, links are in the description to everything I tested. Don't use these as headlights unless for off-road use, and aim your headlights regularly. Thanks as always for hanging out with me in my garage, and I'll see you in my next video.